Right here in Dallas, where I do this show, there was a dispute that made national news over the weekend. There were two protests at the same time in Dallas, or I should say, there was one protest and one riot. One was a peaceful protest, just a peaceful, actually, march by a group called Walk Away. And many of you have talked about many times on the show. In fact, if you're watching on Facebook, there's a great Facebook page just called #WalkAway, and stories pour in every day of people around this country turning away from the Democrat Party when they realize what the Democrat Party now stands for. In fact, one of the themes that's repeated over and over in the hundreds, in fact, it's in the thousands now, of kind of testimonies people give is a theme when I finally did the research and learned for myself and figured out what the Democrat Party really stands for and what the Republican Party stands for. But Walk Away is a great movement started by a man named Brandon Straka. He's a New York City hairstylist, and in the year 2018, he kind of woke up to how detrimental the Democrat Party was to America, Democrat Party's policies were. He formed Walk Away. He stood up and said, you know what, let's all walk away from the Democrat Party. So he forms Walk Away. That's been happening since 2018. And then, as we all know, we're watching the streets of America. We have very violent riots and mob activity, really, by Black Lives Matter. Well, both groups are in downtown Dallas. If you watch the news and many of the mainstream media sources, what you would think happened, you just might think happened, was actually that two groups both got violent. There was an altercation, nobody's fault, everybody was out of line, or maybe nobody was out of line. The facts are very different. There's a lengthy, like a 35-minute video that Brandon Straka did explaining exactly what happened. You can locate that on our website, americacanwetalk.org. On the home page, under shows, drop down, list of links, and I linked to his video on Facebook. I can't urge you strongly enough to listen to it to get the facts straight. The short story was that the Walk Away people, what they do, and this is why I want to really, the point of my first 5 days is to contrast what a movement like Walk Away does when they're trying to spread truth, share what they believe, inspire others to believe what they believe, understand why they're so passionate for what they're standing for. They get legal permission to show up. They have security with them. They follow a routine, and they stand up, speaker after speaker, and saying, here's what I think, here's why I stand with Walk Away. They are trying to persuade the actual purpose of the First Amendment right to peacefully assemble. The Black Lives Matter movement, watching as we have around this country, the purpose is to terrorize, frighten, destroy property, intimidate. It's actually domestic terrorism. It is designed to frighten people into submission. This is the conduct of the Black Lives Matter movement. So in Dallas, they had speakers at the Walk Away thing talking about what they were, whatever their story was, and across the street some gentleman with Black Lives Matter is bellowing into his loudspeaker, trying to interrupt her. She, the speaker, who is a fireball to say the least, we're going to play her remarks in just a moment, she's having none of it. She's yelling back across the street at him, but she's staying on stage saying her thing. When she finally stopped talking to him, she's still making her speech. Protester across the street with several other of his BLM terrorist friends made their way across the street, entered the staging area for the Walk Away people. So they're trying to have an orderly and planned out presentation to hundreds of supporters saying, here's why we're walking away. They have speakers lined up in the back, they have security, and this gentleman who decides he's not going to let them have their peaceful protest got up and got in the face of one of the security people. As Straka describes it, this BLM violent terrorist guy had his fist at the under the chin of the security guy who's not about to let him flatten him. So the security guy did what he was trained to do, which was he diffused the situation. He got a hold of this guy's face, pushed him down, he's on the ground. That was pretty much the altercation. Later, there was an arrest of both this BLM guy and of the security guy who was simply doing his job defending the riot, defending the Walk Away people, trying to prevent the Black Lives Matter protesters who were engaged in violence. But that's only the background. What actually happened later in the same day is what the story, why it's so interesting. So after the police came and arrested this Black Lives Matter guy, and he's walking away in handcuffs, he's yelling to the audience, Call Chief Hall. Call Chief Hall. He knows that Dallas Police Chief Renee Hall is on his side, is on the side of Black Lives Matter. Soon, so walk away is still going on. Later, police come back and they arrest a security guy. So now they've got the aggressor under arrest and the security guy. And after that, this is where the big incident finally happened outside the police department, because after the event was over, Brandon Straka and another one of his assistants went down to the police department to say, hey, why is our guy under arrest? Why hasn't he been released? He was surrounded by a mob of protesters of Black Lives Matter who were aggressive, accusatory, making threats directly at him and his friend. And Straka's standing there, they're right outside the police department, and he's saying, hey, and there were also media, all sorts of media, the alleged mainstream neutral media, standing around with video cameras, not videoing. And he's saying to them, why aren't you videoing this? Look, can you see what they're doing? Literally, Straka, his quote was, I thought I was going to die. He went running with his friend, at being surrounded, attacked, had objects thrown at him, finally got away peacefully. And that is what actually happened in Dallas on Saturday. Now I want to show you a quick video. This is the woman who was speaking when the Black Lives Matter loudmouth across the street began talking. So first I'll have you play her speaking.
I would never understand why a straight black man would push an organization that says they want to dismantle the black family when 67% of children are born to single parent homes. Things that make you say,
okay, this lady, what she's yelling at the Black Lives Matter protester is, how can you stand for an organization that wants to break down the family? This is the last thing the black America needs. We don't want families broken down. She's really feisty. She's a speaker. I think her name is Tamika Michelle. Speaks quite often at their events. She was feisty, and the crowd was having none of it. So, in closing out today's first five, I want to say this. The walkaway movement could not be a better and more insightful and helpful movement in America. Honestly, if you're on Facebook and you go to that Facebook page, you will it's like getting to know America, getting to know people who say, I was raised in a house in whatever, various parts of the country. My family's 3-generation Democrat. My dad was a union guy, all these different stories. And why I woke up and realized you cannot continue to vote for the Democrat Party because they're going to destroy America. Great, great story. So walkaway movement started. These happen, what you were watching, these walkaway movements happen all over the country. They have events coming up in the South, cities all over the country, basically taking on the road. It's a road trip to inspire people to rescue America. That's one of the terms they use, Rescue America, from the Democrat Party. Fabulous organization. I'm going to close out the first five by asking Matt to show you two different clips I sent him. These are just posters of what Black Lives Matter is trying to do around this country. The first one, so they have Rescue America Rally. I love even the name, Rescue America, darn straight. Saturday, September 12th in Charleston, South Carolina. Those are the speakers. That's Shamika Michelle, the fourth one, and that's who is giving it back to the Black Lives Matter gentlemen. These are the speakers they have. And the next slide they have is this walk away. It's a big march in Washington. I think it's like October 29th. It's right before the election. But these are people. This is the beauty of the First Amendment, the beauty of the idea that you speak up in America for the things you care about. You tell the truth. Katie Hopkins will be there. She'll be speaking at my conference too, which is very, very fun. Great organization, great effort of just as the common man, that's enough of that, yeah, common man saying, you know what, I believe in the First Amendment. I'm going to speak up for what I believe in. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I don't want to commit damage to property. I want to stand up and speak about the greatness, the beauty of America. And that, my very fine friends, is today's First Five.